Welcome to the Jonathan Bedaya podcast, where we talk earth, images, words, wildlife films and photography, and occasionally music. If you are new here, be sure to subscribe and leave a rating as well. And if you're already part of the tribe, many thanks for the support. In this whole new episode, I'm joined virtually by two awesome friends, Thomas and Olive from CTC Conservation Center in Uganda. And without wasting any of your time, we will kick things off with some breaking news. But just hold your breath a bit longer. Let's first get to know our guests. I think let's start with Thomas. It's always a pleasure to sit down with you and talk about your passion, but also something that is very dear to my heart as well, conservation. I remember last time we shared a few minutes on YouTube, so let's just say this is your first time on the podcast, and it's only appropriate that you say hello to the tribe tuned in.
Well, it's always a pleasure. I really appreciate. Thanks a lot for inviting us to your podcast. My name is Thomas Price, and I'm the director of CTC Conservation Center here in Butambala in central Uganda.
Welcome to the podcast. And now to Olive, a lady whose enthusiasm for the wild never ceases to amaze. Also joining the podcast for the very first time. Please say hello to our friends tuned in.
My name is Holly Oliver Kello. I am a wildlife handler, tour guide and a conservationist working at CTC Conservation Center in Butambala district. CTC in full is conservation through commercialization. Welcome
to the podcast. Now Thomas, I must say that CTC Conservation Center is easily one of my favorite wildlife centers in the country at the moment. I remember my first visit last year, that's 2020, pretty much got me hooked. But for folks that have never been, do you mind just telling us a bit about what the Conservation Center is all about?
Well, in brief, CTC Conservation Center is a conservation facility. Captive breeding of wildlife is one of our main aspects. Captive breeding for potential reintroduction for some species where it is suitable and where the authorities, which in this case would be Uganda Wildlife Authority, also deem it suitable for animals to be reintroduced. But also captive breeding for other conservation facilities and zoos so that they can source captive bred wildlife. Then the second aspect is tourism. We do want to make our site available to tourism, but we do want to restrict it to low impact tourism. We don't want to have big amounts of people or a lot of noise at the facility because our animals do breed and we want them to live in a natural environment. That's why also all our enclosures are very big. I would say on average most of our animals have a half an acre, which is fenced off to themselves, so they're not really in cages as you would find in most zoos. And then for the tourism aspect, we don't want to be a common zoo where people just look at animals in enclosures. Because we're going to run it on a low impact, we're planning for guests who come to be able to interact with our animals, meaning that they can follow our animal caretakers in their daily routine, feeding the animals and interacting with the animals. That way there's no stress factor for the animals because they have their daily routine where they know at 8:30 somebody comes and brings food and they're happy and excited and they'll play with the caretaker, and if 2 or 3 guests are with the caretaker, that will not disturb the animals. And actually most of our animals enjoy the company of people when we come and feed them. So that would be the tourism sector or factor. Then the third aspect would be education, where we want to have students here who can study the animals but also study tourism or conservation, as well as offer courses for the general public as well as government agencies in the handling of wildlife, being crocodiles or lions or generally wildlife as such. So those are the main 3 aspects we're looking at here at CTC, to put it in a nutshell.
Interesting. Well, I just remembered that I asked the viewers to hold their breath earlier on. So let's get the news out of the way. I've heard that you received new family members at CTC Conservation Center early this morning. let's get the cat out of the bag.
Well, yeah, I'm very happy to say that after 6 months of preparations, we this morning finally imported our first 2 African painted dogs, which used to be known as the African hunting dog. We imported this pair from South Africa, and they're currently the only African painted dogs in Uganda that we're aware of. It seems like they went extinct in Uganda probably about 5 or 10 years ago. There are some rare sightings of them in Kidepo, but we're not sure if they really are there, or if they're misidentified animals, or if they're just passing through from South Sudan, because we know that in South Sudan there still are some small populations remaining. But yeah, we're very, very happy to say that we have a pair of African hunting dogs which are unrelated here, and we hope to breed with them. They used to be common in almost all of the savanna parks, let's say, in Uganda, and currently they're extinct, I would say, as good as extinct. I mean, nobody has really found credible evidence of them being in Uganda for several years now. So we're very happy today.
Wow, it must be very exciting down there. Do the dogs have names already? Do the African painted dogs already have names?
So far, we've not yet named them. What we decided is that we want to spend some time with them and study their personalities a little bit, and then choose names which can match their personalities the best.
Wow, exciting. Now I'd like to bring in Olive at this point. Obviously, Olive, with this current lockdown, the new partial lockdown that we have in Uganda, some people like myself would have loved to join the team at CTC Conservation Center in the celebrations and welcoming these new entrants. We can't come over to eat some cake as well. But quickly, I want you to paint for me a picture of what the day is like at CTC today. You must be really, really excited.
Well, I must say that today is one of the best days at CTC Conservation Center. Adding the endangered African painted dogs to the facility is a sign that conservation in Uganda is taking on the right direction. The African painted dogs that most of us have just been watching on internet are finally here.
Wow, exciting. Now Thomas, I'm looking at a short clip on my phone with the 2 African painted dogs that you brought in. The viewers must be wondering why the excitement around a pair of odd-looking dogs, let alone why are they called painted? Who painted them? So I basically want to know what's so special about this species, and why must this be such exciting news for conservation in Uganda? Oh, and what do they eat too?
Well, the excitement mostly is that we've brought back a species which has gone extinct in Uganda and is part of the natural environment. And the name painted dog comes from the colors. They actually look like somebody painted them. They're brown, black and white, spotted with a very nice pattern, with a snow white tail. Very, very beautiful colors actually. So yeah, we're very, very excited because these dogs have not been in Uganda for quite some time, and it's nice to be able to help restore the environment, even in small steps at a time.
And
sorry, I almost forgot about their food.
Oh yes,
yeah.
Go ahead.
We just received them, so we just gave them a snack. They both got one big chicken each, and they munched it down right away. So we're happy that they're already getting used to the place and showing a good appetite. But of course, we're also in touch with the breeder in South Africa, and they've also mostly been feeding them on chicken and beef, and
yummy.
A little bit of diversity here and there, but mostly chicken and beef.
Brilliant stuff. Thomas, I'm aware that such actions and introductions are done with a full knowledge of Uganda Wildlife Authority, who, according to my very good knowledge, are the custodians of wildlife in the country, and therefore issue permits related to wildlife management. So my question is, are there any plans at some point to have some of the painted dogs introduced in the wild, and are we sure that they would cope in those wild environments?
Well, yes, as you mentioned, Uganda Wildlife Authority is the lead agency and is in charge of anything related to wildlife. So we do work closely together, and shout out to Edie Samwanda, who made this possible in the first place. We're very happy for the cooperation between UA and us, and we highly rely on UA's cooperation and decisions as well, depending on whether they see it fit for animals to be reintroduced and also to see where they potentially could be introduced. We don't have the capacity to make those decisions. That has to be decided on by UA as a government agency, but we're trying to collaborate as good as possible with UA to make it possible where there is potential for it.
Wow, exciting. Now, back to Olive. I've in the past read about wild dogs, and just recently I learned about, they call them the East African wild dog. I think that's the species. I don't know if that's a species or a subspecies. But this particular one is said to be eradicated in Uganda. So is the African painted dog the same species as the East African wild dog? Are they related in any way?
African wild dog and the African painted dog are referred to the same animal, just that in the past they were most commonly known as the African wild dogs, and in the recent days people are preferring to call them the African painted dogs. And then there are two subspecies, and that's the Southern African subspecies, and that's the one that we have here at CTC Conservation Center. And then there is also the East African subspecies.
So it's the same as with the white rhinos. There used to be the northern white rhino, common in Uganda, which went completely extinct. And therefore the government brought in the southern white rhino from southern Africa, which are the ones which we currently have in Uganda. The northern white rhino is pretty much completely extinct everywhere in the northern part of Africa. So it's the same with our painted dogs. We have the Southern African subspecies.
Wow. Thanks, Olive. Now, to Thomas, I don't know if you remember, but the last time we talked, you promised that they would come. And indeed, the African painted dogs have come. They are on Ugandan soil. Well, it's congratulations from my side to you and your team. I can only imagine what goes on behind the scenes.
Well, yeah.
I'm very, very excited. Congratulations again. Now, I know CTC Conservation Center has many other unique animals. So just using the last few minutes that we're left with, Olive, just use that microphone to give us a quick run through of some of the animals under your care at the center. And don't you dare forget my friend Nala.
It's very interesting to know that CTC is growing, and now we're having over 15 species of animals, and we have the African grey parrots. I think you can hear some of them making some sound on the background. And then we have the African painted dogs that were just imported today, the African golden cats, African palm civets, caracal cats, the savo cats, lions, spotted hyenas, backyard foxes, 3 species of iguanas, the Nile crocodiles, leopard tortoises, different species of chameleons, different species of snakes, among others.
Wow. Thomas and Olive, it's been exciting to talk to you this morning. Thank you so much for sharing these few minutes with me today and unveiling the big news with the world. I believe that your new addition, besides raising awareness for the plight of the African painted dog, now provides the opportunity to exchange knowledge with researchers, scientists, keepers, vets from around the country and even around the world for the continued welfare and sustainability of this endangered species of wildlife, the African painted dog. So on behalf of myself and everyone tuned in, thank you so very much. I know you have a party to attend to, so I'll let you guys sign us out today and get on with the celebrations. So your parting remarks, starting with Olive in 3, 2, 1.
Thank you so much, Jonathan, for having us on your podcast today. It's always amazing to work with you. Today was a very busy day for CTC Conservation Center, but also one of the most exciting days that we have ever experienced. I must say that you're always welcome to CTC Conservation Center, Jonathan. And then for our viewers today, I would like to encourage us to actively get involved in conservation because our life depends on it. I also understand that people only tend to protect and conserve what they love or what they know. So that's why we all have to come in and educate each other, talk to different people. Let's share ideas and information about wildlife and nature so that we make this world a better place for every living thing that exists on it. Thank you so much.
Many thanks for talking to us today. And now over to you, Thomas.
Well, as always, it's been a pleasure being hosted by you, and I hope we will see you regularly as we add more and more species. We have some big plans. We're looking at cheetahs and black rhinos, maybe over a time span of a year or 2 or 3, depending on how things continue with COVID and everything like that. But as always, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much, and we shall meet again.
There were said to be sightings of the African painted dog in Uganda before and around 2009, all within and around Kidepo Valley National Park. But none were detected in the carnivore survey made by the Wildlife Conservation Service (WCS) in 2009. And it is believed that this species is not resident in Uganda, but ranges between southern Sudan, northern Kenya, and the few sporadic sightings in Uganda may have been seen in the northeastern part, still around Kidepo Valley National Park, although not as common. It's known that in the 1940s and the 1950s, this species occurred in Uganda's Lake Mburo National Park, Queen Elizabeth National Park, and was also common in Congo's adjacent Virunga National Park, as well as other wild places in Uganda. But there was a policy at the time to kill this species because they were considered to kill prey in a distressing manner that tourists would not like to observe. As a result, they were extirpated from the greater Virunga landscape. With the rising number of prey species in the landscape, it would be worth undertaking a feasibility study for the reintroduction of this species to some of these protected areas. Plans like what CTC Conservation Center has going on provide tangible hope to such efforts. In Africa currently, some of the places where you can see them include South Africa's Kruger National Park, that's including both Sabi Sands and Timbavati Game Reserve. They are also seen in the Madikwe Game Reserve as well as KwaZulu-Natal's Hululuwe Mfolozi National Park. In Zambia, you can see them in the Luangwa Valley as well as Liwa Plains. In Zimbabwe, you can see them in Hwangwe National Park, Lower Zambezi Valley, and the Mena Pools. Kenya, they are evident in the Laikipia Plateau. In Tanzania, you can see them in Selous Game Reserve and Ruaha National Park. And in northern Botswana, you can see them in the Okavango Delta, Linyati, Savuti, Kwondo, and Selinda. And hopefully very soon Uganda as well. Thank you for tuning in to the Jonathan Benaya podcast today. I hope you enjoyed your time here and learned a thing or two about African painted dogs. Well, until next time, I remain yours truly,